Mask in here?
I was told you don't have to. I don't
You're
want to be the first one to take it off.
You're live on YouTube.
Well, maybe clearly I've overestimated my Maxwell's front, yes.
Or
Or your ability to pull a crowd, or my ability to pull a crowd.
It's mine.
it's your live so that everyone can hear you. Always move up.
Right, how's it going? That's not up there either, is it?
I'm going to have to go over when my phone rings, pick up across the road and take it home. It should take me off 5 minutes, hopefully.
So Lisa said she's coming, I said, what kind of who's going to answer?
Some of them.
Certainly have one.
Yeah. Good idea. Smiling.
Someone just lost the middle.
She said slowly, don't she?
So this is how it's gonna be, if you're happy with it.
Yeah.
I told Sam to go, but she said she's not.
Oh, no.
No, she made it up times, and I said, that's not the point. She said, it's Betty's.
She doesn't knock off until 3:30, I'm pretty
No,
sure.
not on a Wednesday.
What do you mean, not on
She
Wednesday?
started doing it on Wednesday with the cooking. Sam, I said, what is it, Sandra?
No, I'll send her something.
No, she will never.
She won't.
Oh, she'll never go out of there. Sorry.
All right, let me go and get really something.
Huh? I reckon, I don't want to be on the wrong side.
That's right, it's 4 people in the room plus.
Exactly.
Zoom, it's all good. And I'm having IT issues, so
Aye,
it's
there's always IT.
it's a COVID. I haven't used it for 8 months, and yesterday we had to plug in and had to do a full reset.
Oh,
And then obviously I just went to plug it in and didn't turn the power on, so the battery went flat in about 10
right.
minutes. So let's see how we go once it gets set up.
You have 3 watching online, so.
Oh, look at that. All places.
Fantastic.
Oh, Yeah,
That's
that's
what
really-
happened.
I'll sit up for that.
I'm just sitting here because it's closest to the door if my phone rings. I'm just sitting here because it's closest to the door if my phone rings.
Oh, we're all back.
I'm just sitting here because I do have to sit in the door if my phone rings.
Hello, how are you?
Good, so close.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'll get one.
Might have some spare chairs.
Yeah, that's good.
You,
You talk about that one.
oh, yeah.
We'll swap around.
So where do you want to,
This one over there.
oh, yeah. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, just do those wide.
All right.
Oh, it's a.
Yeah, it's a bit, you know,
delay.
so there's a delay. So.
Very good.
You're not. No, I made it worse. Okay.
How are we all? Give body language and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's right, that's right. Exemption. Oh, I can drive up here too, so that people on the screen can see. Is this everyone? We not sure?
I think we're still waiting for it.
Yeah. No worries. Very good.
Let's go.
Oh, I bet you said she's coming, I think she went to her.
They're a bit like sometimes.
Everyone living Boort or around?
Yes.
Oh, great.
From Crane?
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't hold it against you. I'm Kahuna, but I'll
Oh,
work out
well, you
Crane.
can't talk.
Yeah,
can
yeah,
you?
there you go. There's the rivalry.
Hey?
Yeah,
We know all about Kahuna, don't we?
yeah. Yeah.
You're listening, I'm going to filter in, they're just finishing handover.
Yeah, no worries. That's
Sorry.
great. No, don't worry. I had some computer issues, so I didn't put the PowerPoint on, so
Uh-huh.
my old laptop went flat real quick. Yeah. Oh, very good, very good. All right, guys. So, you right? My name's Paul Lacy. I'm from Northern District Community Health, and I run the Tactics for Tough Times program. It's funded by the Loddon, Bullock, Ganawara and Swan Shires through the drought funding. So it's aimed at farmers, but we like the idea of it being sort of that secondary benefit. So we're aiming to try and filter the session into the community so that we have a whole group of people within the community that can help the farmers. But you know, when I'm gone, when this program is over, we'll have that, I guess, that knowledge in the communities to be able to help anybody. It's not necessarily just about farmers. It could be any tough time that you're going through. So that's why I like the program. It's not just me going out and knocking on a door trying to help one individual farmer today. I think when we use the pyramid model, we can help a lot more people. So that works really well. And I pretty well just talked about that a little bit. You guys will have that opportunity to help. You'll be there when they're upset. Whereas I could knock on that door and they'd be fine that day and just tell me to go away. Whereas you'll be in there in that situation in your community. You'll know the person. You'll know if they're upset. You'll know if they're acting differently. And we call them signs or signals. So you'll be able to pick up on that and ask them if they're okay and give them some support. Point at the TV. Yeah. Nice one. So I've pretty well covered off on that too, so we'll move into it. So from a health point of view, we talk about our physical health. We know we have ups and downs. We have a cold, we have an injury, we go down. We do a bit of training, get a bit of exercise, we start to go up again. Yeah, so you start to see those ups and downs of physical exercise. The same thing happens with your mental health, obviously. It has ups and downs. So the idea of being able to have this conversation is that support network to hold that person from getting too low and helping to boost them back up. So we can capture somebody before they get too low and maybe be able to catch them before they go below the line. But other than that, physical health obviously has a few other benefits for your mental health. So if you're feeling stressed or something, if you exercise, that's really supportive and helpful for your mental health, isn't it? And that's not really surprising when it improves the oxygen levels in your blood, the health and efficiency of your organs, you sleep better, even sex drive, and those sorts of things are much more improved just because of exercise. So it has a whole lot of benefits, doesn't it? Yeah. So apart from that, though, there is a bit more into it than just go the right way and go the right way. At least I'm pointing in the right direction now. So within that mental health aspect, we have these 5 pillars, the 5 ways to wellbeing. Ganawara does it really well. They have a lot of promotion around the 5 ways to wellbeing, and I know Boort does it now too. And it really is a really strong way of dealing with wellbeing from a proactive point of view. The intent is to try and pick up some of these each day, and that'll help you be in that good place. And we want you to be the best you can be so that you can support someone that's not. As well as the obviously benefits for yourself. This comes out of the UK, the National Economics Foundation out of the UK, and we've got permission to use it today. And we've put this right throughout our whole network, and we're even looking at bringing in, so we can just be down the street, on footpaths, those sorts of things, just to get people thinking about these 5 ways. So let me run through them now for you. So from a Connect point of view, I mean, every day we talk, don't we? Before you learn how to speak, you're actually communicating with people. So it's ingrained in us, and we just need to make sure that we are communicating with people each day. Just that connection. It's all about bonding, and even if it's just hello to someone at the supermarket, it just gives somebody something, and you get something out of it as well. So connection is so important. Being active. Already talked about being active from a health point of view. But I just want to emphasise that you need to do something that suits your mobility. Don't do something that's going to make you sore, hurt, or anything like that. Just do something that fits into your daily routine as well. That really works well. So it might be to walk to the post office or walk to work, or a bit of gardening, or whatever can fit into your daily routine. It's a real big tick box if you can fit it into that aspect of your life. Taking notice. This one's a little bit different. Taking notice is, look at that rain, or that sunset. Those sorts of things. So just, I guess, internally registering your external environment within you. Okay? So it might be fireworks at New Year's Eve. It might be, your grandkids growing up. It could be any of those things. But just going, wow, I love where I live and what I'm doing, and just registering that within you. Okay? I do that regularly. Me and my wife will just go for a little walk out the front gate and watch the sunset. Sit on a couple of hay bales and watch the sunset. Yeah. So those sorts of things. Take that time out when you're busy in front of the computer day after day after day, or you're on the shift and you're not getting a break. Just take some time out for yourself to just have and reflect on just the life around you. You're doing it for a reason. You're not leaving to work. You're working to live. Yeah. Giving your time, your presence, and your appreciation. That's really that volunteering role, and this is massive scale. It doesn't mean that you're going to be the president of the footy club. It could just be that you picked up a bit of rubbish on your morning walk. Okay, there's a very big difference of what volunteering looks like from one end of the scale to the other. I have found myself over volunteering. I have 4 boys, heavily involved in sport and activities. About 5 nights a week, or 5 days a week, I've got something on, and I'm involved in all of them. At some point, I start to feel tired. I start to get burnt out. So don't overdo it. Just make sure that you can, enjoy what you do, get something out of it, make it part of your lifestyle. But giving to others is really reflective of the community. It's a really good, part for the community, and it gives you something back as well. So I do encourage you to do that. Peak learning is pretty simple. It might be the promotion at work. It might be taking on a little bit of extra something. It might be just reading a book, doing Sudoku. There's another range there as well. So it's really worth just thinking about that one from your mind ticking over. Even if it's a podcast or something like that, you just give that time to tune out from all the stresses and the fuzz that's happening in your head. So that can really help just calm the mood. All right, I'm now going to ask you guys, can you think of anything that you do in this space that you've done, say, the last day or two?
Who's going first?
Yesterday I ran a community walking group.
I can say you run around.
I
No.
You did? Well,
I did.
you.
Thank you. Sorry, trying to cover
Oh, I
a
thought
couple
I
of
was gonna
things, I
sit
guess.
there.
Yeah, were you?
I'm gonna sit here.
Yeah. No one likes the front seat. You're there. So yeah, okay, community walking group, so a bit of volunteering plus a bit of exercise. Possibly
Yeah,
a bit
I was being paid for it, so, but yeah, so I put my hand up for it. Plus being active and connecting,
So
yeah.
doing extra at work then, maybe a bit of taking notice,
We were
exercise,
taking notice, yes.
and connection. So you picked up 4, good job. Anybody else?
I took my dogs for a run around the lake yesterday, and
Yeah.
I picked weeds out of the garden on the way home.
Oh, there you go. Nice work, nice work. That's good, that's good. Yeah, so you would have picked up a couple of things again, wouldn't you? Yeah. It's really that simple. You know, whether it's just the post office, if you don't go for a walk down the post office, get the mail, get the paper in the morning, those sorts of things, you pick up quite a few because you might say good day to someone down the street, you're checking out a beautiful morning, you know, and all those other things as well, being active or giving you time for picking out some weeds. Good stuff. Anyone else?
Hey, what? I pulled corn out of the garden yesterday.
Pull corn out of your garden?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
so
Got your garden going, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
bit of exercise. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah, yeah. Now the idea I like with this is you're actually thinking about doing it for that reason. So it just becomes part of your daily routine, doesn't it? If it's just something. I'll give you the ones. Pass them around. Pass them through. Yeah. If it's just part of your daily routine, you're not thinking about it. You're not sitting yourself. Sometimes that can just put you in that trap where you haven't actually helped your mental health. Because I can just work all day at home, doing the lawns and doing the gardening and everything else, and I just feel exhausted at the end of it. But I haven't actually taken the time to reflect on it and think about the product that I've achieved and take some notice out of that. Yes, I've done the exercise and those sorts of things. So it's really just, yeah, it actually was worthwhile doing that because of A, B, C, and D. So what I'd encourage you to do is stick that on your fridge. And in the morning, when you go to get your milk for your cup of coffee, you have a look at that, what am I going to do today? Which one of these am I going to try and tick off on? Or how many am I going to try and tick off on? Okay. So that's worthwhile trying to do. Now, the other part of it is, that gets you in a good space, yeah? So you're in a good space to be the best you can be. But what if you weren't in that really good space? Who would you turn to? Who would you talk to? Now, I think the best time to have that conversation with working out who you might talk to is when you're feeling good. Yeah. So I want you in your head now to think about who the 5 people you would talk to about your own mental health would be. A couple seconds to think about it. Now, I'm a 42-year-old mate. We weren't brought up to talk about that sort of stuff. It's not what we did. You know, one older brother, and then if you were beaten on the ground, you'd get up and have to go again. Yeah. So we never talk about that stuff, and I don't talk about that stuff with my mates. So my 5 is pretty light on because I'd probably have my wife and the doctor. So I've only got 2. So what if I couldn't get into the doctor and I was having domestic issues? What have I got left to talk to?
Friends.
The ones that I don't talk to about this stuff. And it'd be very awkward and a lot of effort for me to go and talk to them about it. So that's why it's so important to let them know that they're on your list. You need your 5, because 2 of them might not be available. Now, I went to another one of these sort of training sessions up at Swan Hill, and the gentleman there said he did the same thing. 5 people on your list. Now, he said after the session that there was somebody that came up to him one day and said, "Thank you so much for saving my life." What? I had that 5 on my list. I put them in my notes page on my phone, And one day when I was feeling really, really low, I was in the car thinking about suicide, and I was writing my suicide note on my notes page and saw that list of 5. Decided to go down that path instead. Now the challenge there is not to just put them on your list, but it's actually to have that conversation with them so that they know that you're on their list and you're on theirs. Okay? So the importance there is when you actually go to them, they go, I've got your back, mate, what can I help you with? That's really, really important. So have a little think about that. I really challenge you to put your 5 together and have a conversation. It's not too hard to do. And if you know they've got your back, they'll be there to support you when you are low. Okay? Now the next piece is flags. So these are those things that they all stack up that can put you in that low place. So there might be things that stress you out, frustrate you, make you anxious, make you nervous. They're your red flags. Then you're going to have a list of green flags, the things that make you feel better, things that take all that stress away, things that make you feel comfortable. You need to know what they are. Okay, so I'll give you some examples of some red flags for me. Driving in Melbourne. Number 1, I get so anxious and I don't know what it is. It could be that my father had a series of accidents in the truck in Melbourne when I was growing up, and I thought, my God, I never want to go there. It might be that it's just I feel too closed in, crammed in, and I can't make a choice because I'm stuck in lane 3. Or that the navigation system's let me down, or the navigator has let me down several times. And then once you get off the freeway, it's like, damn, how do I get back on? So it's not like a gravel road down the back tracks where you can just turn around and head back out and jump back onto the main road and away you go. So that makes me anxious, makes me stressed, I can start biting my nails. My wife knows straight away, because when I get colder, put your fingers out of your mouth. Yeah? That's how I am. So that's a stressful red flag for me. All right? Could be anything from 4 boys I mentioned. So every time we need to go somewhere, someone hasn't got something, someone's not ready. Giving them 2 hours notice, 30 minutes notice, 10 minutes notice, 5 minutes late. Oh yeah, I haven't got my shoes. Oh, I haven't brushed my teeth. So frustrating. So what can you do? You've got to think of some green flags in situations where you're stressed to actually support you through those red flag situations. Yeah. So for the trip to Melbourne, for instance, I might put some music on, just gentle music, maybe make sure the kids are entertained in the back so that they're not yelling and screaming, I'm hungry, all that sort of stuff. And just so it's quieter and calmer for me to plan it. Maybe I leave half an hour earlier so that I've got a bit more time up my sleeve so I'm not feeling stressed at the other end. And having a good navigation system was always useful as well, or a complete pre-plan where I'm going to go. So lots of green flags for that one. Haven't worked out the green flags for getting the kids in the car earlier, but we'll work on that one. What about you guys? Have you guys got any things that really stress you out, frustrate you?
Well, these empty chairs were, but they're all there.
Frustrate you? Yeah. Another one for me, and I live in the country obviously, but I hate waiting in lines. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm above it, but and my time is more important than someone else's. I just hate standing there waiting, and the frustration just builds so quickly for me. And then by the time I get to the counter, I'm not in a good mood anymore. So I need to employ a green flag there before I get to the counter. Otherwise, I don't get what I want anyway because they're not happy with me. So there's all those sorts of ones. So what about you guys? Put the hand up. One. Red flags.
Having a flat telemarketers.
Telemarketers, flat tire. Yeah. Yep.
Being stuck on the side of the road when I can't remember how to change it and work it out. It was
very frustrating.
Lots of anxiety.
Yeah. Feeling like you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. Imagine that in the old days when you didn't have a phone.
Well,
yeah.
I didn't hardly have any service. I got the manual out and I read it because I'm smart enough I can work this out. It didn't matter how many times I looked at any of it, I worked it out and then someone comes and changed it for me.
Yeah.
But I said to my husband, don't ever let that happen again.
They gave their time to someone else. Yeah.
And I was so thankful to him.
Yep.
So thankful.
Yeah. It doesn't take much, does it? Yeah. Telemarketers? Yeah. How frustrating
Another
that.
game.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get the last.
We've got a run on with the light blokes at the moment. in Gamoona. So yes, and we're out of town, and they're knocking on the door. It's like a bit strange, but my wife's getting sucked in. I'm like, we don't want any. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else got one?
Getting lost.
Getting lost?
So if I'm in Melbourne, Ballarat, wherever, and I lose my way, I have severe anxiety.
Yeah.
I can't even think to look at anything. Thank God for Google Maps now.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. But, so I am a little bit better at it now. I just do that. But
See, that's that anxious part. You know, when people get stressed or they get emotional or they get anxious, what happens? Your ability to think backs off, doesn't it? So we need to calm them down and get them back to that place where they can use rational thought and find a way or a path out of that situation. So that happens every day with everything, and it works in the conversation too, that we'll talk about in a minute. Anyone else want to jump into their seat and let me know of another one? What about green flags? What do you love doing? It just gives you so much calm, so much enjoyment. You know it's your happy place.
Just jumping in the spa.
Jumping in the
Glass of
spa,
wine.
glass of wine.
Yeah, that's what I
you're-
take nuggets. Last
Yeah.
night it was raining, jumped in the spa.
Yep. Oh, very good. Very good.
This way, no one can ask me for anything while I'm in there because I'm not getting it.
Yeah, well, you can't get it out of the kitchen because you're wet, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here.
I have to get it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else got one? It's really important to know what your green flags are.
I
You
like
sleep.
walking the dogs.
Yeah.
Just especially after work, just to, when you're being busy all day, just to.
Yeah. It's your unwind
clear
moment.
my head,
Yeah.
listen to music.
COVID made it really hard because we're all working from home, but I love that commute between home and work. It's about 20, 25 minutes. But leaving work behind and having that transition to home makes me such a better husband and father. Yeah. So if you know that's really good for you, you just need to employ something else to help you in that space. You know, if you turn the computer off and start doing the vegetables and telling kids to get in the shower, everything's rushed. If you walk in the door, hi boys, how you going? Everything works really neatly and nicely. Yeah. So it's just that transition from one to the other. Yeah. All right, we've covered them. Now, this is that conversation bit we move into now. Nothing in this is too heavy, but sometimes people get a little bit stressed or there's been a situation for them that's caused them some grief and it gets a little bit effective for them in the session. So if that's you, I welcome you to have a glass of water, just to take that anxiety out of you, or if you need to, just leave the room, come back. Everyone will welcome you back. You don't feel like you've made a big scene or anything like that, okay? So please feel like you're in a comfortable space. So, and on that, everybody has a backstory, yeah? I reflect on the two farmers in the drought, standing over the fence, having a conversation. One saying, oh, it's not too bad, we're getting through. And the other one's on his, just had enough, can't handle it, it's just too much. Same situation. So the stresses are the same. They're in the same climate, they've got the same water, all that sort of stuff. Their farming conditions are the same. The one's handling it a lot better than the other. Okay, so it's not the stresses that cause it, it's all those other factors about a human that makes it hard for us. Our ability to cope. It's our environmental factors, it's our genetics, and all those other things that build it up. Okay, so don't tell somebody that you've been through it before, and you've only got to do A, B, and C, and you'll be right. It's not the situation you went through; it's their situation. So on this conversation, you might have already had one of these conversations. I'm trusting most of you have. Yeah. It might not have led to how we're going to help you down from the ladder. It might have just been, hi, how are you? How are you going? Oh, you don't look so well. Are you okay? Oh, yeah, not too bad. Okay. So there's a whole range of what this conversation looks like, and it's one of those conversations. That's basically what terms this conversation. So I'm asking you how you are, how you're feeling. You don't look 100%. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help you? That's in this situation as well. Okay. That's not all the time at this end of the scale with referral. So the way I look at it is this conversation has three outcomes. One is you've just asked them how they are. Do they need any help? I'm all right, thanks for asking. Two is they might need some support. It might even be they just need to borrow a trailer to get their house stuff moved so they can move to that next place, because that's what's doing their heading. Okay? But at the other end of the scale, it might be referral. So when you move into one of these conversations, you just need to know if they just need a brief, they need support, or they need referral. It's that simple. So if you're not sure, you're nervous, you're anxious having this conversation, just reflect on that. 3 things that should come out of it. And that's just how you're doing there. Right. So has everyone had a conversation? Maybe you don't have to tell me the details or anything, just nods, yep, good. How did it go? Did you just one word answer, good, bad, okay? Yeah. All right. So I'm not saying I've got all the answers, and you guys, through your experience, you've got something that works for you, and I'm not suggesting that you change that. All I'm suggesting is you might find something here that goes, that would work, that's a technique that I could use, or I like my way better, and just to understand how that conversation can roll out and some of those other little tips and stuff that might make it a bit more helpful if something flared up the first time or the other time. Okay, so in this conversation, you want to consider the interruptions. At my place, the 4 kids running around the kitchen table, it's not really the conducive place for a personal conversation like this. So you mentioned, and we talk from a farming point of view, it might be over the tray that you down the back paddock, or it might be down the haystack or the shed, where it's quiet. There's no rush. There's no pressure. Yeah. And it might be that the issues are around something in the family environment that is still in the house when you're trying to have that conversation. So it might not be the best situation in the house. What about the footy club? That's where you meet and greet, you have all your connections, and all of a sudden you're having a conversation. That gets pretty awkward, doesn't it? So just think about that a little bit too, and is this the best time to dig deeper? Do I need to give this person a call, go and get a coffee or something on Sunday and have a chat? And how would you approach that conversation? I guess, basically it is that "are you okay" question, isn't it? It's that simple, just to say, are you okay? And quite often, if somebody's in that space, they want help, then they'll start giving it to you and you can move on from there. But what it is, which I haven't touched on so far, is the invitations and the signals. So have you heard of invitations and signals? So if someone has a blow up, they're frustrated, they're stressed, a lot of people will start going like this. Yeah? It's the person that moves forward. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help? It might be that they just no longer start coming to events. I had a mate at the footy club, hadn't seen him for 2 months during the footy season. He was really busy on the farm. He just lost his father, and the farm was then put into his name, and so I just thought he was really busy. Finally come back to the footy club, and he was talking to someone else when I come, I haven't seen you for ages, mate, how are you? And he started giving me everything. I hadn't been in a good place. I've been really struggling with my father's death and all the pressure of the farm. We didn't even want to get up in the morning, me and my wife, and we just couldn't handle it. But I'm in a better place now. I knew he wasn't at footy, but I did nothing about it. Yeah, it's not the big active signal where someone's waving you down sometimes. It can be quite passive. Yeah. So I chose an opportunity to have a conversation with him, so I knew there wasn't pressure on his outcome at that point in time. And then I made him one of my 5. Mate, if you ever are going through anything like that again, please come and see me. I can help you through that. That's the conversation with someone on your 5. It's not too hard, is it? So also consider their temperament. Obviously, if they are aggressive, you don't want to put yourself in danger. It's a bit, like CPR or anything like that, danger OBC. Body positioning is really important too, because Donna's not going to feel like opening up if I'm standing up in talking. How you going, Donna? You okay?
I'm going back.
Yeah, you don't feel comfortable, do you? Eye contact's not great in this conversation either. Because if I'm thinking about the really big important things in my life that are stressing me out, I don't want to have to be focusing on someone else's eyes. I just want to be looking up and, up to the left, I think, or up to the right, whichever one that part of the brain comes from. But, just to be able to reflect. So park benches, sitting in the front seat of the car on the way to something, those sorts of things are really good ways to have this conversation. Yeah, they work. over the back of the ute, like I say, or, facing over the farm gate, having a conversation. That works really well. As I just mentioned, the eye contact is not as important in this conversation as it is in a job interview. Okay, so we took this from, I was trying to get established when I first started in this role. And it was out of America, it was for a university, and it was one of these suicide apps for the university. And it had a highlight of ways you could help people if they were struggling, and it had a highlight of tips and the contacts and everything. I thought it was great. I wanted to light the world up with this app, bringing it into Australia, but couldn't get it over the line. So what I did was put them on screen. So talk openly and ask directly. It's that, are you thinking about suicide? If you're beat around the bush, you're not going to get the answer, so just ask them outright. This could go either way, but I'll state it anyway. Most people that are thinking about suicide want help. Okay? There's going to be the odd one that doesn't, but I think everybody in this room would be better for trying to help that person than not. Yeah? So just ask them. In the conversation, they might have said some things like, not feeling great, I'll give some examples. In some of my sessions, I've had a guy up the back talking about ropes, guns, things like that in the conversation, and you're sort of, I'm not sure you're in the right place. And so you might be able to ask this question around those things. I've heard you say stuff like you're thinking about getting a rope, or the missus better hide the guns, and those sorts of things. Are you okay? Is it, are you thinking about suicide? Is this something you've been thinking about? Yeah, maybe. Well, lately? Yeah. Okay, well, are you thinking about it now? Okay, so just keep getting more information out of them on the way through. Because remember, you want to know those 3 topics. Is this just a debrief session? Are we after support, or do we need referral? Okay. So you just want to get as much information out of them as possible in a supportive, calm and mannered way to get that brief so you can make a decision on where they're heading. Okay? Reassure them that help is available. And as I said, be supportive and calm. Listen without passing judgment, and think about the parent and the child. The child's having some issues. It might be a 14-year-old. That conversation could look quite different from a hierarchical point of view, having a conversation with your dad, for instance. So you really got to come from that supportive place and don't be judgmental. And help access resources that they're comfortable with. Probably all guilty of this, but we'll just go see the GP. That person might not want anyone locally to know about their issues. It might be financial stress. I don't want everyone to know they're in, dire straits with the bank. So how is the resource going to help them by going local? Might not. So then you use some of the other ones, put them on the table, the lifelines, beyond blues. What about that side of things? Can you get a counsellor in that space, or if it's financial, raw financial counselling or something like that? That's all confidential. And just keep putting things on the table until you get an idea of where they want to head. Okay? You can't force somebody out the door and into the support service. They need to pick it up. They need to be able to pick something off that table that you can help them with and work your way through it. Another thing there, if it's the doctor, for instance, I reckon you'd probably want to get a double appointment and let the people at the front counter know that it's for a wellbeing appointment. Yeah? They'll get a bit better of an idea of it. Because in my head, I'm thinking through that doctor's appointment. You sit in the waiting room, and you're going there because you're thinking about suicide. You sit in the waiting room, you get called in, you sit down, the doctor walks in, what can I do for you today? Well, if I was a 56-year-old farmer who's all built proud and doesn't want to talk about their emotions, I'm probably going to start talking about the skin cancer on my neck or the bung knee by the way it's been approached. But imagine if I, the supporter, went with them and I introduced the doctor to the 56-year-old farmer and just mentioned to them that, we're here on a wellbeing, Jono's been thinking about this and, he's having some trouble down this line. Doctor clicks and it becomes a wellbeing appointment straight away. And that person doesn't feel pressured. It's a calm, inviting situation, I suppose. So I like that scenario. I think that would work really well. All right. So as I say, help them access the resources that they can access and they're interested in. By the way, the check-in. This is after they've done it, or after they've had a look at their service or support. Check back in with them. How did you go? Do you want some help getting something else if that didn't work? It's quite often on the other end of that phone, there's someone frustrated saying they gave me nothing. It didn't work. I couldn't get through. Those sorts of things. And that was one of those things in some of the sessions that I've done. I've had people say, we rang Lifeline, left a message, didn't get back to us for 2 weeks. Lifeline. Only one reason you ring that. So that is where you want to be that support and say, that didn't work, all right, let's try something else. Maybe we weren't really interested in the doctor, but maybe we could try that now. You know? Knowing that there's no help there, let's try here. From a don't point of view, these are things you don't want to do if you're having this conversation. So you don't want to make moral judgments, encourage guilt, argue or lecture. And as I said, like with the 14-year-old and the dad, that's probably going to be a likely situation. So you need to really come from that right place. Minimise the problem, promise you won't tell anyone, or leave the person alone. Now, generally, if you're having this conversation, they're not going to say, please don't tell anyone though. You're just having this conversation. So you don't have to say, to get their confidence up, I won't tell anyone, I promise. Because you might be the person that takes them to the doctor and you've just broken that line of trust. Yeah? So it's really important to that. Leaving the person alone can be really tricky, especially from a service provider point of view, because at some stage you have to get out of that. Yeah. So it might be that if that conversation gets really emotional and really heightened, that you try and bring it back down to a nicer place until you start talking about the sheep or the weather or whatever, so that they're not in that heightened state when you leave. And hopefully there's another family member or someone else that can be there to take over. Yeah, that's also really important. This is some things you might say to make you come from that empathetic place so that they feel comfortable to let it all out. So as you can see up there, I'm concerned about you, I care about you, I'm here for you. You don't want yes or no answers. You want to build up that novel of things that you understand about the situation for them. And remember, it's how they're being, not the situation itself, but how they're being affected by it. And then how that sits for them, okay, to get those three things out of it. And as I say, let them talk, it's not about you. Did that work?
No.
There we go. I'm probably going to skip twice now. All right, so how do you get help? We know there's a whole list of different places we go. The hospitals are obviously one of them. Doctors, clinics, counsellors, all those sorts of things. There's a list over there of local supports as well as national. If you're interested, plus there's there's little wallet cards and things like that that can have all the phone numbers and those sorts of things on them. So if you're not sure about somebody, you can just slide one of those across the table and say, how about you just stick this in your wallet for a rainy day? Obviously, if it was me, I'd try and talk to my partner first. Yeah? And then they can help support me through it. Because if it was my partner with the problem, geez, I want to know about it. Yeah? I feel like anyway. So I think it's really important to have had that conversation with your loved ones and then see if the GP is available to have that conversation as well. And obviously the mental health plan that gives you the 10 free counselling visits and those sorts of things would be really useful in that space by going to your doctor first. What else we've got there? Counselling services, and obviously all the ones in the dark blue. There's many to choose from, so just keep putting them in front of them until they pick one up or get one that works. Resources as well, so this is in that support sort of space, so we sort of dealt with the referral bit. We're in the support phase, so these are some of the options to get some information, some help. So it's financial, it might be Farm Hub or Rural Aid, AgVic, Rural Financial Counselling side of things. If it's a child or a youth, you might be looking at Headspace or Smiling Minds, and obviously Lifeline if you want to do those sort of ones as well. There's plenty out there. But who do you guys go to, like from a work point of view? Do you have a go-to that you're in? Is it like the suicide line in Bendigo, or triage or?
We're currently using the Royal Flying Doctors Wellbeing Services
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, good.
What
Yeah.
they call to give advice to people.
Yep. Yep.
As a pathway, and they do the triage to decide, does this.
Yeah, whether they fit with the Royal Financial. Yeah.
Or do they need to go
Sorry.
further?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Good. And that works for Boort. Yeah. So it might be correct that doesn't work for, so then you need to sort of know where that person's from and those sorts of things as well. So yeah, very good. All right, well that's well from me, guys. So it does get a bit heavy towards the end. Yeah, you're probably like, whoa, that's not what I was expecting. But I figure if we're aiming for proactiveness, let's just keep aiming here. From time to time, you'll end up in that space where you've got to talk to someone about that stuff. And now you've got a few tactics to help you in that space if you didn't already. Yeah? But I'm hoping it just reassures you that what you're already doing is right or great or doing a really good job. And if it's not, there might be some little tweaks there that can just help you with those conversations. So remember, your 5, your 3, your conversation, and how you can work about these in your daily routine. Okay? So thank you very much for your time. The other thing that we do have is obviously our Facebook page, which I'd like to pump up a little bit because I've only got about 180 people on there at the moment. So if you're on Facebook, please like the Tactics for Tough Times Facebook page because I make an idiot of myself sometimes and that gets posted on there. So we try to have a bit of fun. It's not all just doom and gloom. Yeah, and we try and promote these things as much as we can. So please jump on and like the page. And we also have a lot of supports on our web page for Northern District Community Health if you needed any way of getting help as well. So thank you very much for today, guys, and really appreciate you coming in.
thanks, Paul. Well, on behalf of all of us that came and filled the seat, thank you, Paul, for coming. It was short notice. We had planned when we were going to do our first mandatory training and put a bit of a dent in that. So we're lucky to be able to have you even for our small group. But from an organisational perspective, I was sitting up the front and I know I was nodding and the rest of you could see the back of my head because all of the things that you were saying really made sense and Darren's our CEO sitting here, be proactive in looking after your workmates and looking after your health and wellbeing here. So in terms of just supporting each other, your advice today has been really valuable to encourage everyone to have those conversations. And as a nurse, we're trained, don't ask someone how they are if you're not prepared to listen to the response that you're going to get. Everyone's nodding. But just knowing that we don't have to be the problem solver for it all, but to give those options and to recognise those choices and the types of things that we can say to support each other because, every day we come in here and we go, oh gosh, Kathy's not herself today. I wonder what's happening for her and doing that check-in, are you okay, what's going on, or whatever it may be. So really valuable things, and we're all connected to people in the community, husbands and wives and partners and friends and family who do work out in the farming industry where it's tough.
Yep.
And Paul and I were just having a conversation before the session started today about the rain spoiling the tomato harvest for some of our employees and who were highly stressed because of that. One of them came to work at 4:30, what time was it? 4:30 the other morning instead of 7 o'clock because she was lying awake.
Oh, yeah.
And just couldn't let it go, so thought might as well get up and get busy. And now we have some great valuable tools to support. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure everyone in the room agrees.
Yeah.
It's been our pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing your information too back to me. So yeah, I really enjoyed the session. It's been my first in a little while, so with COVID. So thank you very much. So there's some stuff on the table if you want to look at that. I might even try and put one of those stupid videos up if I've got time, but you don't have to hang around for it. But if you've got a couple of minutes, you might be interested in seeing what that looks like. Yeah, 5 ways to wellbeing. We over COVID we had a bit of spare time.
Thanks, everyone.
Does everyone feel about the attendance?
Oh, no.
Yeah, just on that table, thanks.